Another pawn endgame for you I've prepared. On one hand, I love pawn endgames. They could be brilliant, beautiful, unexpected, and good calculation is required. On the other hand, I'm a little scared of them because they could be so difficult. So this position or a similar one could have appeared in my blitz game, which is very rare. And I decided to check it out because I thought I wasn't sure if I was winning. So I adjusted the position for it to be this way, but it could have been in my game. It is white to move. Try to analyze this position. What can white do? Clearly white is better, right? So black's king has no place to go through in white's position, right? White's king is much more active, there's weak pawn. If white's king manages to get through, white, that's it, that would be enough to win. The problem is black has the opposition. Black has the opposition in this case. So for example, it is worth trying to play something like king h7 and wait for opponent to make mistake. The only move is, okay, the only move to resist more is king d7. Any other move loses opposition. For example, king e6, it's king g6, and after this I do this. You have to go e6, and as usually in opposition, once the king moves aside, you have to use, like, go around him. You go king f8, the king wants to go here, and f5, we come back. And that's pretty much it. After takes, the pawn on e5 would fall with the Zugzwang, and then that pawn would fall, and this is resignable. So just another quick reminder of an opposition, in this case a distant opposition. So there's nothing white can do here. King d8, king g7, king e7, king g6, king e6, king h6, king d6, back to square one. So what else can white do? The only thing that comes to mind, well, we can try go to f5, but black wouldn't let us, right? So let's see what happens. So the only thing we can do is king f5 or prepare f4. That's it. That's all ideas you've got. Let's see what happens. King h5, king e7, king e6 loses the opposition. King e7, and if king h6, it's okay, we just been here, not interesting. King g6, king e6, keeping the opposition. So king g7, correct move, king e7, correct move, king g4, and now actually king d6 is a better move. Because the problem is, if black goes king e6 now, white goes f4, black should react to it. Black should react, and after takes, it is a Zugzwang. It's black to move. By the way, this is very critical position. Black to move. If black will have to move the king, and then king comes to f5, and then inevitably e5 happens, and then king goes to win this pawn and then that pawn. Not sure if there's any need to. Okay, let's say king d6, king f5, king e7, e5, takes, king d7, king d5, king c7, king c4, opposition. I don't care, I have two pawns. If king d5, I promote. So this is winning for white. So the problem is this position. If it's black to move, black loses because white king reaches the f5 square. But knowing that, black can go king d6, white goes king f5, black goes king e7. What you gonna do? King e6, again king g6. You can easily fall into threefold repetition. So f4, e takes f4, king e6. Actually, from practical point of view, if you have something like that over the board, there's no need to think it through from the whole beginning. This is what I would think and do over the game. But if you want to really improve, you can start from the starting position. That would be a decent puzzle to solve. The problem is, it is white to move. We should, again, in pawn endgames, very good question to ask, what if it was his move? Just like in the starting position, if it was black to move, white would win. Let me show, for example, yeah, I think I showed already. Let's say black lost an opposition. How do they lose the opposition? Let's say I go king h5, black go king c7, no, sorry, king e7, go king h6, king d7, king h7. Let's say like this. Black lost the long opposition, and that's it. And on next move, I'm approaching. If king goes here, I go around. I go always in the opposite direction and approaching. This is how you deal with, this is how you use the opposition. And then approach and a different direction, f5, king g7. So in starting position, if it's black to move, white wins. The same applies here. If it's black to move, white wins. Okay, noted. But how do we do that? Black always has some king e5 moves. If we go to e3, this is a bad move, but still needed to be considered. If the king gets here, that's it, black is lost, right? So if we go to e3, black has to go to e5. In this case, it actually forces a draw with f5, takes. Again, black is still winning the opposition. So king e3 a mistake, but noted, if we go to e3, black should only be on e5 to not let us in. c5 is way too far from f6 pawn. And if so, what we do, we go king f3. Let's see what black can do. Actually, you can... Okay, I'll try it. I'll try to explain again the corresponding squares. And this is more accelerated example compared to the previous one. So if white king is on f4, black has to be on e6, two corresponding squares. If white's king is on e3, black's king has to be on e5, two corresponding squares. So if white king is on f3, it can reach f4 and e3 simultaneously. By the way, king e3, king e5. Again, if it's black to move, black loses. If king moves, we get to d4. If f5, king has to move away, and we still get to d4. So in both these positions, in this one and in this one, if it's black to move, black loses. That is critical for corresponding squares. So if the king is on f3, we can reach f4 and e3. Black should be able to do the same. Where is that square? It's d6. So we go to f3, black goes king d6. Still nothing. We go here, he goes here. If we go to f4, he goes to e6. What do? We go one layer below, again, like in that video with corresponding squares. If I'm on e3, he has to be on e5. If I'm on f3, he has to be on e6. By the way, if in this position after king f3, it's black to move, nothing happens if it's black to move. Black goes king d6. So that's black is fine. Yeah, there's no, if black to move, black goes king d6, black is still fine. But if we are on e3, he has to be on e5. If we are on f3, he has to be only on e6. He can reach these two squares only from d6 square. So, and we can reach e3 and f3 from these two squares. So this is where the triangle appears, not close to the pawns, but down here, two layers below even our pawn, not even f6 pawn. It's king e2, king e6, king f2. King cannot go here because of king e3, we've seen this position. Black cannot go f5 because we approach with the king. If black takes, we take and start collecting pawns. If black goes king e5, we take, and again collect pawns. So f5 is not possible, king e5 is not possible. What is left? It's king d6, and now we approach again, and black has no move. It's king e5, we go king e3. If king e6, we go king f4. Amazing corresponding squares. To win this position, white's king should go down to these two squares, and then depending where black king go, we are going to... Actually, king cannot go too far, because if we go here, he has to reach e5. So if he tries to go to the queen side, that's just not working. Like this. And again, king comes here. So another very sophisticated example of corresponding squares. We cannot win here because all these three squares are connected one to another, and it's enough room for black. But this pawn is controlling d5, and that is critical. If black could have went king d5, black would be fine. So the starting position is winning, but only if you use this plan of pushing f4 and then coming back with the king to f2, e2, and you doing that weird triangle. Till this day, it still bothers me, these corresponding squares on a huge distance. on a huge distance from a real action. Like in other video with just 4 pawns, it was also two rows below all the pawns. By the way, the stockfish not immediately seizes the win. Okay, it's saw it. King h5, king d7. King h7, it says the best move. Come on, stockfish. King h5 is the fastest. King h5 is the fastest way. So it gives decisive advantage, but only goes f4 on move 5. But okay, stockfish found this one. But if you look at this, you don't really understand what is going on. You have to move the pieces around to understand this principle of corresponding squares. All right. I hope I improved knowledge of pawn endgames, and I hope you enjoy this geometry, unusual, weird geometry for human eye, in my personal opinion. Another example of corresponding squares. I'll see you in a week. I hope you enjoy. Like, subscribe, share the word at social media. Thank you. Bye.